on Cox Channel 13, Verizon Channel 32 at 5 p.m. and channel again at 10:30 every Tuesday. And South County, Kent County, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. channel 18. So first, Maverk, you must take an oath never to reveal the secret location we are at right now, since there are many enemies out there. The Sky's Hot Power Show. We could be attacked at any time from the Tri-Guido area. You cannot reveal the secret location we are meeting right now, okay? Swear on your oath. All right. So you have a full-time job, and you have your. Would you say you're a night gig here as the producer of the Matt Allen Show, like part-time, or would you consider that full-time?
It's part-time. I mean, the amount of hours I put in there, it's about 20 hours a week after all the shows.
All right.
So yeah, it's part-time.
All right. So you went to school at Bryant University, correct? To get out of high school, and you said, I'm gonna go to Bryant. You went there for finance, right?
Went there for finance, yep.
And then how did you get involved? You know, you were the manager of a radio station there, correct?
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in that?
Well, it was kind of spur of the moment. Like freshman year, you get into college, and then all the groups, all the organizations, all the clubs want you to sign up. And hey, join our group. And a buddy of mine, my best friend, came to me and said, hey, we should think about getting a radio show. And in high school, I was really familiar with AV, did a lot of video editing and stuff. Radio was an uncharted territory.
Yes.
And I like that. I'm into music, play songs, talk on the radio, freedom of speech, that whole thing.
Yep.
So we signed up, and then had a show for both semesters. That spring, the board was opening up for leadership positions, and the general manager spot was open, and I really wanted to get more involved in the radio station. So I applied, and they selected me, appointed me general manager, and I had held that position for 3 years.
That's awesome.
Until I graduated my senior year.
That's awesome. That's like, you know, so a lot of people want to get into radio. I guess, you know, the best way to do it is if you get into college, they have a radio station in most colleges. It may be volunteer or start working there.
Yeah, it's all volunteer.
Yeah, so that's what people should only do. Because they always say, well, how do I get my own TV show at public access? Well, you go down to your local public access, go to, you know, it's the, Cox doesn't run the public access anymore. They gave it over to, what the hell is the name of the place? Channel 2, those people, the
BBC6?
No, it's the public. It's this. They're known as the public access something. They run it. So Cox and Verizon both pay this company to run the public access, all the studios.
Yep.
And it's public access. It's like PCU, whatever. It's a Channel 2. Those guys, you know, those guys all run it. Now I forgot the name of it. Damn it. So then, how did you get into running? You're on the Matt Allen Show. That's every Monday through Friday on WPRO, correct?
6 to 9.
6 to 9. And Matty's the host of it. You're the producer. So how did you get to be the producer of his show?
What happened was, after I graduated college, I took a full-time job, and I really missed the radio. I missed, you know, and I was looking for a little extra money, and a board operator position, weekend board operator position opened up at WPRO down there on the Wampanoag Trail, and I applied and went for the interview, and they hired me.
So the board operator is basically doing like the commercials or hitting the key or mics on or this call or that call. You want to do stuff?
It wasn't even that advanced, Scotty. It was basically just the weekend shows are a lot of syndicated stuff.
Yep.
I think there is live programming, but the stuff I started off doing was all syndicated stuff coming in off the CD, or playing off a CD or off a satellite.
Okay, yeah.
So it's basically just watching the clock, timing out the commercial breaks, and hitting the right buttons at the right time.
Oh.
But that's the building block for producing a live show. That's where you got to start.
So that's what you started doing. Then you got it. So then what? Matty needed a producer for his show,
Yeah,
and
Matty needed a producer. I knew Matt even before I started working at Citadel.
Okay.
And then I started working at Citadel, and then Matt got his hour gig. He was hosting, and they gave him an hour, 6 to 7 after Dan, for his own show, and then that was successful, and they said, all right, we're going to give him a 3-hour spot. And at that point, he approached me and said, you know, would you think about coming along with me and being my producer? And, you know, I was, again, looking for some extra money.
Like, hey, yeah.
Yeah, chance of a lifetime, something like that. So I jumped on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's been a great ride ever since.
Now, who's in charge of the show? You are the host of the show.
What do you mean by in charge?
Well, like, in charge, like, who's scheduling the guests? Who says who can go on the show, who can't?
Well, that's all Matt.
That's all
anybody can go on the show. There's only a few people that I think there's only one person I can think of that comes to mind who's a caller,
So he's on the blacklist. So
He's only on the blacklist because every time he gets on the air, he has nothing but racist things to say. It's not even like if racism could be constructive. It's not even constructive.
Okay.
You know what I mean? His points, not his racist arguments, but even his points, they're not even constructive. So that's the only person I can think that comes to mind that we don't let on. But everybody else, anyone can come on the show. But as far as in charge that way, Matt's in charge.
All right, so he's the one that's in charge of letting guests come into the studio and be a guest on the show.
Yep.
Correct. Anybody can call up.
Anyone can
call up. You just hang up on him if you don't like him.
Right.
But you know, but I like to. So anybody who wants to be a guest on the show could email Matt and say, hey, I would like to have an hour on your show to talk about this, and depending what Matt thinks it's going to be a relevant topic to what he wants to discuss, something can allow that person to come on. Okay, all right.
And he does get a lot of those emails. A lot of people, you got to, I mean, depending on what's going on in the news week, you know, what's happening in the news.
I trust me, I know.
You know.
I get emails, people want to come on the show, and it's like, okay, what would you like to talk about? I mean, I had one guy, and I still might have him on, I'll bring him out, you know, he ran for the mayor of Pawtucket. And I guess what happened was one of his staff members did something illegal. He was forging names or something. So come to find out, he took the rap for it. He said, well, he was under my watch. He took the rap for it. And I guess the old mayor, Jim Doyle, the mayor of Pawtucket, went after him, and he was in court. And he wanted to talk about a story, but my point with him was like, why did you take the rap from somebody who did something illegal? You should have been like, nah, dude, you're out of my gig now, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't put him on the show. I might not. You know, if I had Chris Young on here.
Oh, and, Chris Young, yeah.
Chris Young been on here, and that's a whole nother thing where I argue with Richard about, because he's like, well, why do you want to put people like that on your show? And it's like, well, you know.
What does he mean, people like that?
He feels, he feels like he doesn't have a shot at winning any of the elections, so why would you want to put him on? And my point to that is, if no one's giving him the time or the space to talk, how are people going to know about this person? Like, I'm not, on public access, you really can't endorse anybody, but I want to give everybody who runs for a public office a chance to come on and speak their piece.
Right.
So whoever they are, like Chris Young, Chris is always saying, Channel 6 won't give me a chance, this person won't give me, hey, Chris, come on my show then, all right?
Yeah.
There's some time for you.
And then who else is available? I mean, is Mayor Cicilline lining up to get on the show, or Sheldon Whitehouse, or...
I've actually called and emailed all those guys, and they never respond.
Right.
They don't respond, and I've heard through the grapevine they don't respond to a lot of people in the radio, TV business. They just, to me, they feel that they're more high and mighty than to come on a public access show or a radio show, because right now they're in the lead. Everyone's voting for these same guys over and over again, and I think until a real threat comes along, then they might change their tune. But right now they're sitting high and mighty, and that's everyone out there who votes for them. And to probably say I didn't vote for any one of those dingbats. Okay. I did have a friend who said he wanted to put on Cicilline on the show, but I haven't talked to that person in a while. You know who Tommy Rocket is? He does another public act show. He's friends with Mayor Cicilline there, and he wanted to come on, and well, that kind of fell apart.
What show is it? What show does he do?
He does a Tommy Rocket show.
Okay. No, I thought it was called something else. No, I haven't seen it.
No, you're not missing much. Trust me. Right, Tommy?
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, it's all right, Tommy. No, I haven't talked to Tommy in a while. So my next point was I was going to say, I had this. Here's a good point. Since you work at WPRO, is there like, now, do you want to become a radio DJ eventually? Do you want to be a radio talk show host? Do you want to get your own show? Or do you rather stay the part-time gig?
Right now, I'm happy with the part-time.
All right. So you're not like a Sith. You're not like a Sith apprentice in Star Wars. You're not gonna like learn from Matt and learn all the ways and then kill your master and take over, and then have a new apprentice take over.
No.
All right. No. So you're just gonna remain.
I'll just
side guy. Well, you do an excellent job. I listen when I can, and I think it's a great. You guys interact very well.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun.
You know, you have a lot of fun. That's the most important thing about it. People say, "Why do you do this show?" Well, I like change and I like to have fun, and I can do what I want on my show. You know, I don't have any sponsors. I don't have any commercials that are paying me for time slots, you know. So I don't have to answer to anybody except myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the FCC on me. Obviously, you guys have guidelines, and I noticed what on WPRO compared to like some other talk shows that I listen to, like especially out of Boston, they kind of push the limit more with their language. They're saying ass and F and dropping F-bombs, and once in a while, stuff like that. Even Jeff Charles on HGY will kind of ramp up his language a little bit. But I noticed on WPRO, the language is a little bit more held back. Is it just because the station policy there, or is it just the host themselves kind of say, well, we don't want to push the limits on that, or is the general manager of the radio station saying, whoa, none of this, none of that, none of this?
I would say it's a little bit of both, but it's not. It's more of like the hosts that are on the air are very conscious of the times we live in, the post Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl world, where the FCC is,
they come down hard on
carries a big stick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you mess up in the smallest, slightest way, it can turn into a
big
mountain
fine,
could turn into
yeah.
a molehill could turn into a mountain. You know
Yeah,
what
I got you.
And so, but then there's also general managers and program directors need to be, attentive to what's going on in the air and what's being said.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of both.
I think depending on how the ratings are and stuff like that, some general managers or hosts might just say, you know what, I'll just pay the fine out of my pocket, or the station might say, we're getting such high ratings, so we can charge so much for these commercials during this hour. We keep this up, or we kind of do that little Howard Stern thing where a couple vulgar language slips out and the FCC comes in, hey, it's worth it to pay this fine because we might make this X amount in selling commercials, or the ratings might go up and we can charge more for commercials for the hour. I'm just saying that that might be, especially in Boston, which is like,
right.
I think the number 5 market in the United States.
Right.
So, economics play into it too, I believe,
That might be the case in larger markets like Boston, but, and I'm just going to speak for Matt, and not speak for Matt, but for the show.
Yeah.
Like, I've never gotten the impression Matt's saying certain things or has said a certain word to get
a rise.
Well, you want to get a rise, but
Yeah.
it's not for ratings. It's for, that's who Matt is. What you're hearing is what you're getting.
That's right. So he's the same kind of person on the show and outside the show, basically.
100%.
That's cool, because I think a lot of people, when they like, sometimes on my show, like, I'll ramp things up just to stir the pot a little bit,
Yeah.
And when people see me out in public, it's like, I guess a professional wrestler said it best once when he was out in public and people came up to him and started yelling at him, how could you do this? And he's like, listen, that's a character in the ring.
Yeah.
I'm not really a guy that goes around and beats somebody in the head with a chair and sleeps with their wives. And he's like, I think it was like Triple H to me. It's a character. It's a role I've taken on for entertainment. And I try to explain to some people, like, some of the stuff I say, like, I'll like bash women or something like that. I say they belong in the kitchen or they need to clean the toilet. It's just to get a little rise out of the other women to call, make comments or call in. It's not like how I really feel. And I don't think a lot of people can decipher that. They just think you're one way, they see you on TV, and they just think that you're like that in real life. And it's not true for everybody. And I really appreciate that about Matt. If he's the same way on the radio and he carries those beliefs and values in his real life too, that's something special. That's really cool to see that. Because a lot of people can't do that. I'm mostly the same way I am in real life with my show too, minus a few things, but I say what I really believe in on the show, and it get people thinking. And I think Richard's the same way, I can honestly say, because we hang out a lot, I met a lot of my friends through this show, a lot of other people I met through the show. Obviously, I have my friends who have nothing to do with the show, but they all watch it and say, I was back when I was Scotties, the scumbag, back when I first started
I remember
out.
those days. I remember that.
I might have my 10-year anniversary for being on public access is coming up. I might do a Scotty the Scumbag special. Well, I might go out for an hour with my camera and just rip the town up like Steve White used to do. You remember Steve White at all?
No.
He was more of a, I guess, radio talk show host who was pretty more popular, I guess, maybe in the 80s. Yeah. He passed a few years ago, and he was really popular, I think, but then he got out of the radio. I used to be on his Saturday morning show a lot.
Okay.
And God bless his soul, he was a great guy, and he used to really stir things up. And he used to have his own public access show. He used to drive around Providence and just like attack everybody who see him.